So editing RAW files on the Fuji X100V, I know, why would I even shoot RAW with a Fuji camera? It's blasphemy to most people, but I've pretty much always shot RAW with these cameras, and I asked in some recent videos if you guys wanted to see how I would typically do a black and white edit on these RAW files, and a lot of you wanted to see that, so that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Big shout out to Squarespace, as always, for sponsoring this video, supporting what I do here on the channel. If you need a website, be sure to go to squarespace.com/mattday, but we'll talk more about them here in just a little bit. Let's dive into these edits. I didn't want to overthink things or overcomplicate things. I just grabbed a handful of photos in my X100V catalog here in Lightroom Classic, and we're just going to walk through the process, start to finish, how I would go about editing most of these, and you're going to see it's really not all that fancy. In fact, I made a preset for myself just to slap on there, kind of as a starting point for pretty much anything I import. And no, I'm not here to sell you any presets. Don't go running off anywhere. Let's have some fun here. Right off the bat, let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the Fuji film simulation profiles that you have. If you just open up the little panel here, we've got Astia Soft, Classic Chrome, Classic Neg. I'm gonna be honest, I know Classic Neg is one of the newer profiles that Fuji came out with. Does anyone ever use this simulation? I feel like anything I've ever just glanced at in this simulation, woof. Now we could start here, we could tweak things. What I'm gonna do is just slap on this X100V black and white film, just generic preset that I made after tweaking things using the camera's built-in monochrome profile, just tweaking things to give me a rough starting point of how I would go about most edits. It's definitely not a slap it on there and it's gonna work for everything. It's just to get me in the ballpark when I get started. So if we click on this, I will show you exactly what this looks like over here in the basic panel. Brought my exposure up a little bit and my contrast is blasting at +100, and that might seem crazy, I have no idea. What I have found is that when I'm doing a black and white conversion or a black and white edit, if I'm taking a digital file and just doing a simple conversion to black and white, it's way too flat. And no matter how much I control my highlights and shadows, my whites and my blacks, with the contrast just zeroed out, I feel like I just have to do so much work to get the punch that I want. So I like to bring the contrast slider way up and then adjust things further from there, just to kind of pull in any of the detail that might have gotten lost with the contrast getting boosted up. Maybe that's a roundabout way of getting to the look that I want to get to, but this is just how it works for me, and that's what we're doing here. Dehaze +10 in most scenarios, I've found that looks really good with this lens, especially as I'm shooting like into the light or with the ND filter on. Sometimes it can get a little kind of squirrely there. Using the dehaze +10s, it just gives things a little bit more of a crispier look. It just happens to be something I like. Tone curve I usually don't mess with, color grading, none of that stuff. Detail, I leave it set to just what the basic Lightroom sharpening is. If anyone has their own tips on sharpening and all that stuff, feel free to leave those down below. I'm learning just as much as I make videos about the X100V, so yeah, keep them coming. No messing with distortion or vignetting or transforming anything unless I really need to and I'm working with some kind of, geometric thing. Grain. I do have some grain here. So this is what I have for grain. It's 16, 4, and 51 on my sliders there. Nothing scientific at all. I just kind of eyeballed it. I want something to give me at least something to kind of mask that digital wormy noise kind of thing that some of the Fujis get. Especially just in different scenarios. I don't always notice it, but when I do, it's just gross. This just gives me a little bit of texture, something to kind of lightly mask that. It's nothing heavy by any means, but if you're upset with me adding grain to a digital photo, I totally get that. I'm gonna put a link down below to some top of the line tissues. These are tissues that I firmly believe in. These are Amazon affiliate links, so if you do shop with those, just know that. But I hope that helps if you are upset about it. Other than that, I don't really do anything else here, but I would bring the exposure up a little bit on this one, and I would bring my contrast down, bring the highlights down a little bit just so they're not peaking like crazy. That's pretty much it. That's what I would do there. This next photo, this was shot just outside of the truck as I was leaving after picking up dinner one night. Slap that little thing on there, bring my exposure up. Just the detail and the range of detail in this, it's wild. It feels really like cheating with these cameras, honestly. There we go. not really doing much else. After I slap this on there, I've got my J key selected here. That's why you're seeing all the blue, just showing me where things are clipping. Bring that one up. I would bring the contrast back a little bit on this one, and then I'm just gonna try and open up the shadows just a little bit more. Maybe lift the highlights a tiny bit. There we go. Next up, slap this one on. A lot of this stuff is just quick snapshots, like stuff as I'm out driving, out scouting, looking around at different things. Yeah, not a whole lot to it. Bring that contrast back on this one just a little bit. Yeah, a lot of this honestly is really just eyeballing things. It's really quick. I'm not thinking too much about it. I'm trying to just go by looking off of things. And it is helpful to take breaks and revisit things later. Just keep that in mind. This is a photo of my brother-in-law, Kyle, and his wife, Sean. This is their little boy, Wyatt. They live in Germany and are moving to Australia soon. But they were here just a couple months ago, and we never get to see them. And they were here for a couple of weeks. It was awesome. Missed them terribly, but it was great to hang out with Wyatt finally for the first time after not getting to see him for his first 2 years of life. So I was glad I got to make some pictures of him and the family while he was here. This is one of those, I think, that I was shooting with the ND filter on, and it kind of has that hazy look since I was shooting into the sun here. But I think it overall handled it pretty well. I could bring my highlights way down if I wanted to go for that HDR look, but I don't really want to go for that. I'm going to leave the highlights up. It was nice and bright. That was what I was going for. Bring the white point down just a little bit though, maybe to keep it from getting too kind of cooked. Yeah, that'll work. I love having the camera for just quick stuff like this. Laying there next to Elliot, we just got done playing Donkey Kong Country. He's going on a huge Donkey Kong Country kick, which I can't be more excited about. That was my favorite franchise as a kid, still is one of my favorites, and we're currently running through the first one, and it's just, being a dad is everything I thought it would be and more. I just don't sleep nearly as much as I thought I would. But he was just twirling the glasses, and I liked the way the sun was catching it there, and I liked this one specifically, one, because of Bowser's eyes right there on his bed sheets, because of course they're Mario themed. But more than anything, I liked the smudged up glasses, because that is absolutely your typical 5-year-old. This photo of Nora, we were in the garage, and the kids were just playing in the back of my truck bed with the garage door up, and it was kind of a nice little daylight studio. It had that nice sort of barn door lighting, and she was just standing up there right at the edge of the door with this nice soft light, and yeah, just slap the black and white edit on there and straighten it out a little bit. Done. Looks like a big kid, breaking my heart. This little man, this was when we were up in Columbus at Nationwide. So glad that is all behind us. It's honestly as simple as that though for me most of the time. I start with this. I usually bring my exposure up a little bit or down a little bit, bring the contrast up or down a little bit, straighten it out, kind of bring this in, get rid of some of the little unnecessary stuff. There we go. I love these photos of the kids with my brother. They are always jumping and climbing all over him no matter what. This one here, really high contrast. You can see as I bring the exposure up, highlights are clipping, but of course I've got my contrast way up here. So that's the nice thing. I start with it always maxed out when I use this preset, but I can always pull things in as I need to. Lift it up a little bit more. Keep those highlights from getting too out of control, but I am going to bring my shadows down just a little bit. I don't want it to look too unnatural. That right there feels about right. Same thing on the next one here. Start off with that. Bring the exposure up a little bit. Bring that down, or hit reset, go back here, copy, select, and that's pretty good right there. I think overall I would straighten that out. Maybe do a 4:5 crop. I feel like that. No, because I want to keep. If I do a 4:5, I'm going to lose some of the doorway here. I like having this part of the door frame. Maybe if I went 4:3. Yeah, 4:3 feels better. I like that one. Our little sensory seeker, constantly looking for water or mud or dirt or sand or anything she can dig her toes and fingers into. Bring the contrast way back on this one first because I was shooting directly into the sun and it was a really high contrast situation already to begin with. Gonna shoot with a 4.3 again probably. That'll work. Last bit of light at the end of the day, just kind of catching the highlights there against the bark. Another one, 4.5. Yeah. Here's another one shooting into the sun. I can't remember if I had the ND filter on for this one or not. I feel like sometimes you can see it in the out of focus areas, like in the highlights, like these trees and stuff back here. Sometimes I feel like it can affect things like that. Let me know if I'm crazy on that, but I don't know. It had that kind of look and it honestly reminded me of like a classic lens kind of look because of it. So I wanted to include it in here, slap that on there. And if I just bring the exposure up a little bit, honestly, if I wanted to, I could bring my tone curve up and in a little bit, kind of lose some of that detail there that most people probably would if this was on film. And there you go. This isn't to make it look like black and white film. This is just how I like my black and white photos to typically look. Slap this on there. That one I would probably not even touch. I'd probably bring the highlights down just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Right about there, and that would be it. This, Elliot was doing all of his super cool moves, obviously, and I wanted to grab this photo right here simply because the first person who can name what photo I'm referencing or what photographer and subject I'm referencing with this photo right here, you'll win a free Polaroid. I will mail you an original Polaroid that I've shot just for fun. As you can see, it's really simple and straightforward. There is nothing crazy that I'm doing with any of these edits. This is just how I typically get the look that I'm going for. I would love to hear what you think about this process, especially just how I'm going about it. If there's something I'm missing, something else I should be doing, something I should try. Again, I'm learning a lot about shooting with this camera and just getting more out of the camera, I think, the more we talk about it. So I'm thankful for all of you who have been tuning in and joining the conversation. I'm excited to keep that going. So if you have any questions of your own about this, or again, ideas, suggestions, let's keep talking about it in the comments down below. I'm also going to be doing a video sharing some of the Fuji JPEGs, the film recipes that people have shared. We're going to see what that's all about soon. That's it for today though. Thank you again to everybody who is watching. I love you all very much. And last but not least, a huge shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and supporting everything we do here on the channel. When I needed to build a site for mattdayphoto.com, I did that with Squarespace long before they ever sponsored the channel because they really are the best all-in-one platform to build a website. Someone like me, I don't have any kind of experience in building a website and I need things to be simple. If I need to update things or change things, I want to be able to do it myself and I want to be able to do it quickly and not have to take a course to learn how to do it. And Squarespace is super easy with all of their templates. You can pick a template, have a great starting point to work from, but then you can further customize that to fit your own style. Obviously, as photographers, having a gallery to showcase your work is crucial, but not only that, you can do other things like have an online store to sell prints or digital products, regularly update things with a blog, send out an email newsletter. People can even schedule or make appointments directly through the site. All of this stuff is built right into Squarespace and it's incredibly easy to use. If you do have questions or need help with anything, they're always ready with 24/7 award-winning customer service. So no more putting it off, it's time to make the website happen that you've been thinking about. Go to squarespace.com/mattday. That'll get you 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you again to Squarespace for all of their support on this channel, and thank you all for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.